Ngowi TV, informed economists and business perspective.
Bora kuelewa cha kufanya kuliko kuambiwa cha kufanya.
We Tanzanians, we witnessed a lot of interest from multinational companies.
That is one of the things and initiatives that we would like to have addressed with government in terms of if you're in the industry and we're looking for investors.
If it's borrowed well and spent on development expenditure rather than current, it's okay.
Industrialization has failed because accountants did not play their role very well.
Those people who had local shares in the country thought they had local content that supported the people.
And our policy, low volume, high yield.
And tax measures basically is talking about how much the government is expected to collect.
Because when you are borrowing, you are creating liabilities. But then if you turn these liabilities into assets in terms of infrastructure, roads, ports, airports, education, health, that's no problem really in the long run.
We'll now go into plenary questions and answers and comments. The mic will go around. May I please request that we be brief and to the point, considering that we are behind time.
Thank you, Chairman, QnA Session of Zambia. My names are Kimford Kalobi. I'm a business and financial analyst. I chair the network panel of ACCA Technical Committee. I wish to thank the panel for the good presentations, and I wish to thank my brother Caleb Fundama Jr. for inviting me to this program at short notice. I wish to draw your attention, panel. It's not a question, it's a contribution to the presentation you made on domestic resource mobilization. I think this is critical to the development of African countries. I have been an advocate that for African countries to develop, we need to increase our efforts in local domestic resource mobilization, because this is the only way that we reduce our borrowing and financing our budget using foreign funds, and also spending sleepless nights thinking whether IMF will come to our rescue or not. So I think this is what most African countries will need to do. And this is the only way that we will meaningfully achieve the SDGs that Zambia and other African countries are trying to achieve. Secondly, my other contribution is on capital flight and the tax havens. Being an accountant, I'm so disappointed that most of these multinational companies that are externalizing capital is that we, the accountants, were the culprits, because we prepare these financial statements and we know what is going in these multinational companies, and we're helping to transfer these funds to tax havens. So I challenge every accountant who's here and around the country that, look, we need to help governments in Africa to arrest this problem, to ensure that we become whistleblowers and stop this capital flight. I thank you.
Let me pay tribute to Dr. Fundanga and his team for working on this very important subject which affects all of us. I think my contribution is brief. It's the issue of what I will call official tax avoidance. That is something which affects both developing and developed countries. It is the relationship between the political powers and the taxpayers, particularly the large taxpayers. Now, there is a country which I will call X, which officially allows the rich people not to pay tax and transfers the tax burden on the small and medium income people. Now, where you get such a kind of collaboration between the political powers and the taxpayers, the solution becomes even more complex to resolve. So, as I haven't seen the book yet, it's difficult to make direct comments, but I think that it was also important to look at what do you do if it is officially accepted and legally entrenched that, well, the rich don't need to pay. And it's official and it's legal. And then, in addition, you have the legal profession specializing in how you can avoid tax payment. One would expect that morally, that should be a crime in itself, that you are really telling people to commit a crime by not paying tax. But you just change the name to tax avoidance instead of simply saying this guy is a criminal, is not paying tax. So I think there are these other complex issues which need to be addressed, I think, at international level rather than at state level. Now, for the third world countries, I think the biggest starting point should be building capacity for managing the tax system. You can't even identify, even vaguely, as to who is avoiding tax because you don't have capacity. So the starting point is not raising tax, increasing tax rates, but I think knowing how to collect tax. And I think that's where we need to put more emphasis and probably also find better ways of developing systems that are consistent with the requirements of the environment in the third world countries. Thank you.
This is really a very exciting project for me, a very exciting book. But I start with the concern that perhaps there's a huge elephant in the room that, sort of blinds the eye to the shape of the world, if you like, because of all the trees, all the detail in terms of the issues and so on. So the political economy context, I'm hoping that the political economy context is an issue that's been addressed by the book, and if not, I would suggest it as an area for further inquiry, in terms of, issues such as state capture and its implications for revenue collection, its implications for political will to legislate appropriate tax policy and to implement it. So that's one thing, you know, the political economic context. A very good example is a very large country that I shall name, you know, the United States of America, where, you know, the president is on record as stated his intention to declare his tax returns, to reveal his, you know, tax records, but has not done so, and has actually credited himself as being very smart for not having, you know, paid, for having avoided taxes. So what are the implications for the behavior of other jurisdictions that look to the United States and other countries, other quote-unquote advanced countries in terms of demonstration effect and example of best practice and conduct?
And mine basically is to commend the authors for the job that has been done to put together information of this kind, more especially if you look at what is happening in a country like Zambia. I work for the civil society, and within the civil society, one of the challenges we have had with regards to engaging on issues around illicit financial flows has been evidence. For a long time, we have had to depend on reports that have been done by other countries. Examples would include the Thabo Mbeki-led report on illicit financial flows, but to have research that is done with a chapter on Zambia is actually good for us, more especially if you look at more recently where we had the Zambia Revenue Authority and a thing has come that suggested that some mining company was actually evading paying tax, and if you look at the amount that they cited, it's actually a big amount that is almost close to the national budget. And to also have a report that seems to be suggesting that there could be a number of challenges, especially in the extractive sector, I think goes to validate that there's a lot that needs to be done. And in ending, I would want to request if Dr. Caleb Fundanga can comment briefly on the key findings with regards to the Zambian case. I would be more interested to find out if at all there is a particular sector where issues around capital flights are more prone, or it could be the extractive sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think the only comment I can give is to thank all the people who have intervened. I think you are all very supportive of this product from our project. We can only promise that we'll continue to do further research so that we can bring out more, and also to engage you so that we can get your views and proposals for addressing this vexing problem. As regards to the case you were mentioning, is this the one where a company was charged 7 billion? Well, I don't know how it has concluded. I don't live here, but I've been following from remotely. There are different views. Some people are saying perhaps it is too large a number. Maybe it needs to be revised downwards. I remember I even received an international inquiry as to my opinion. One of the investors wanted to find out exactly what is going on here and what is likely to be the conclusion. But I believe that ZRA, there must be some ZRA people here. They are the ones who can tell us the conclusion, because they are the ones who started it, and they know the basis for the numbers. They know the coverage period for that huge claim. I don't think it covers 1 year, because if you just look at the total copper production in 1 year and that bill, it's something. But I must also say that there is a lot of ways by which companies are hiding the money they get from our copper. If you look at the moment, for instance, cobalt, what is the international price per ton now? 95,000 US dollars per ton. Copper is only 6,000, but cobalt is 90-something thousand US dollars per ton. Especially where people are exporting concentrates or just ores, there could be a lot being hidden there of cobalt,
And you just say, because it occurs maybe in a ratio of 95 to 5%, that is 95 copper, 5% cobalt, yet they could be sending something which might even be 50-50, and there is a lot of money being taken out because of that, and we don't have the capacity to test the contents of some of these ores. I used to work as in the assay lab in Muforela many years ago when I was a young person. That used to be our work. Every day you test this, you test that, and so forth. But I don't know whether our tax authorities do have labs where they can be testing to confirm that what is being exported is worth so much. There are also these issues of other precious stones which may be contained. So sometimes when you go through that route, you may find that our estimates of what is being taken out might be much, much lower than the reality. I don't know if I've been helpful, but if there is a ZRI person, you can help us with the conclusions of that case.
Yeah, I think my question has partly been dealt with by the gentleman who spoke just before the last one, but maybe I'll repeat it in a different way. What lessons, or has the book dealt with any lessons that we can learn from Norway in terms of incentivizing two groups of people to be more patriotic, particularly accountants, because the best brains are taken by the mining firms, for example, and how can we incentivize them to stay at ZRI and other relevant authorities? And also, the second group is politicians and government workers. Has it talked about how we can incentivize this group of people to know that it's good that we pay tax, and to put in legislation that that sort of locks us into paying tax rather than, incentivize tax evasion? Thank you.
My name is Kangwa Minda. I'm coming from the Consumer Unity and Trust Society. I have a number of questions, but it's basically a comment, and that the book is very timely. Especially at a time when we are still trying to negotiate for money from the International Monetary Fund. For me, my main concern is, why is it that always, I don't know if I can say the main culprits, are never in the room when we are having these discussions? We seem to always be talking to ourselves as, it's always the same people, basically. I would like to see a situation where we have corporates, we have Zambia Sugar, I don't want to pinpoint any names, but different corporates that basically play a big role within our economy. We know, for example, agriculture plays a big role. We know, for example, mining plays a big role. I'd like to see a situation where those multinational companies can also be in the room, so that we can have very diplomatic discussions regarding increasing the performance of corporate taxation. I think there are situations where as civil society, we tend to name and shame, and sometimes we do not always have the facts. And we need to see a situation where we can be talking or speaking with these multinational corporations or those who are allegedly avoiding tax, because for as long as we continue having these discussions ourselves, I think we may never make any impact in terms of improving corporate taxation, and the burden will continue to be on us as citizens, us who are getting very little income, and us who at the end of the day cannot even afford to pay tax. If you look at pay as you earn, for example, it is so high that at the end of the day, when you pay all your taxes, your fees, and everything you're obligated to pay, you're basically in debt. So I think we need to get to a situation where those who are more capable of paying are also in the discussions and basically not left out of these discussions. Thank you.